Hi, welcome back. I'm Linda. I just finished up a really pretty fall scene. I used a sponge this time to do my leaves. I think you're really going to have fun with that. Real soft, mellow background and some darker trees in front. A really nice bank here that goes down, kind of goes over a little stream here. And then I've got another one here. I think you're really going to have fun. It's not that hard to do. So just follow along with me, pause and paint. So let's get started. So here are the paints I used. Acrylics, ivory black, titanium white, burnt umber, cad red medium hue, cad yellow medium hue. In oils is liquid white, titanium white, lamp black, phthalo blue, snap green, Van Dyke brown, Indian red, red ochre, Indian yellow deep, orange, yellow ochre, cad yellow pale, cad red light. And don't forget the blue shop towels and about 4 to 5 pieces of cut up sea sponge, artist sea sponge. So here I'm going to try and explain, this is the acrylic backdrop that I made. Kind of a V shape where the hills come together. I left the stream open and where the tree kind of in the center where I'm going to have this big old tree. So I've gone in with the burnt umber and I've just created a background for these colors and put a little orange on top there where the trees are. Made some trees with lighter brown and just a few sticking up there. Going into some yellow ochre yellow. I'm just gonna just dot away on the tops of these trees just to put some background color there. Got a 1 inch, just soft touches, and all it is background color. So you don't have to be super fussy. Going tops of the bushes there, working my way over to the center. I just wanted a nice mellow yellow. Adding a little orange here and there. Going working the other side, putting some more yellow in there. I'm not going to go all the way to the top because I want some area really light. Just blending it the best you can. I'm going to go on top of those bushes a little bit with some yellow. Got a little red mixed in there. Just hitting the tops of those trees. I even use my finger to blend in. I want it really soft. So I've got some water there next to me. I'm just gonna make kind of a wash and just blend it in. No detail, just background color. Going into an orange. Guess that's more of a red, but when you mix the yellow and red, you get a orange look. So I guess I call it orange, but it's really a combo of red and yellow. Okay, I've let this totally dry, and I'm going to add right over the top liquid white. That's going to make the canvas nice and wet, slippery, and the paint will flow on perfectly. When I get done here, I'm not going to go all the way, just the upper portion. Then I'll take a blue shop towel. I'm going to wipe a lot of that excess off. I want to make it look like a fog, a foggy, misty looking, distant. Okay, there I'm folding my shop towel half and half again, just big enough, just to rub it out, just push it out. 'Cause that stuff dries, that acrylics dries super fast. I just kept rubbing, and finally, if I'm happy with it, then I'll just keep going. A lot of that will come off, and then the background will come through. Okay, in the oils, I've got a little bit of the cad yellow and white, little X strokes. I'm going to go right over the top of some of those yellow areas already. Putting a little white in there, lightening that up. I want the top part bright. I don't want a lot of yellow on top. A little bit touch of yellow ochre in there. Gives a nice fall tint. It's a nice color. Soft, not too bright. And if you think you got too bright of an area, just add a little white. In between the trees, gonna make some open areas that where the light reflections coming through. Just here and there. Wherever you think. You can make it your own. If you want it brighter, go for it. Right there, I've got what they call a scruffy brush. It's actually it's a Donna Dewberry scruffy. It's a 3/4 inch, real short bristles. They're soft, but it makes really nice bushes and tight areas. I use a variety of brushes here. I just experiment and see which one works better. Some do, some don't. You see me change over. If I don't like the way it looks, I'll just change my brush out. I'm just taking a little bit of a shop towel and I'm just kind of rub over those just a little bit to soften that up. Expose some of those background trees in there. Still dotting in that yellow and white mix. I tap my brush too. I get the little excess paint off. Then it's not so thick. So I want a very, very light coat. And you'll see me now and then take a shop towel and go over the top of those areas just to take some of the paint off because I don't want it real thick. Taking some orange, adding in some bushes. I'm going to start working on that hillside, putting in some different colors in there. Still in that same color. I'm going to go over the top of that now. Just dot some yellow on top of that orange. They're distant trees, but want some yellows in there on top of that orange. There I take my shop towel and I take a little bit of that extra paint off. I think I learned that technique from Kevin Hill. I love his art, and I've painted quite a few of his paintings, and he always used the blue shop towel because the regular uh, paper towels they leave fiber, but these blue towels, perfect. Okay, I'm adding a little green, uh, tiny bit of sap green with yellow mix, very light, distant trees back there. I'm tapping in my orange. I'm gonna go below those bushes again, making them a little bit darker. Concentrating on putting some color in there. I got some cad red light that I put in, mixed in with my orange, makes it a little brighter. And I'm going to add some color here and there down along the creek bed, the bank. I'm going to have another hill that's going to come right over kind of the top of that area. It's going to hide that stream that's running through I guess it's a gorge. And so I'm going to hide part of that. Okay, I'm going into the Van Dyke Brown, and I'm going to just put in some darker areas just to give it some contrast. Cluster of trees back there. Dotting some darker areas in there. Like Bob Ross used to say, without the dark, there is no light. That's why I like to put dark areas like beneath the trees or in areas where they're next to a really bright color. It just makes them pop, makes them really pop. Now down in that right corner, that's going to be fairly dark. So I'm putting in Van Dyke Brown with just a touch of the, I'm trying to think, red ochre is slightly darker than Indian red. So I'm putting a little red ochre in there in with my brown. I'm mixing that up together to make it a pretty reddish brown. If you don't have the red ochre, you can always take Van Dyke Brown and add a little red to it, plain red. And you'll get that beautiful reddish brown. I'm just tapping in some background right underneath that tree line there there's going to be a spot there where the sun is going to hit. See that little white area up there? I'm going to make that more yellow and orange in a little bit. But right now I'm just working on the bank, getting some dark brown and the reddish brown in there. Just tapping it in. Going into my orange and yellow. I'm going to tap in. I've got a little fan brush. It's kind of a gnarly little thing, but it makes the nicest little grassy areas. And you can push up on it or you can scratch down, whichever. You can experiment, because I do both. So back into that dark brown and brownish red, which would be the red ochre mix. Just tapping in some color in there. The bottom is going to be very dark. Just scratching in some grassies. Now I'm going in a little bit of phthalo blue and white. I'm just tap in some water in my little creek bed there. Just tapping in. Got a little fan brush there, a small one, small brush. I'm just tapping in some blues down there. And that will end up right at the bottom of the canvas. I'm going to have some brushy leaves and maybe stones or whatever that are kind of in the water. You know, it's so shallow there, and you'll see what I mean. I'm working on the bank. Now I'm making sure that I angle downward because that's a pretty sharp uh, hill there. And again, shop towel takes off that extra paint. All right, I've got a little liner brush, and I'm going to start making some trees. I'm going to put some tall, some short, thin. I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I'm going to keep these fairly low. Just pulling up. And if you can't get it nice and, how should I say, the paint has to be a little bit wetter than normal. So I add just a little bit of mineral spirits in that little batch of brown there that I made. It makes the paint flow off your brush a lot nicer because it has to be thinner than what you've put down, and thin paint, you know, will stick better, a lot better. So you want to thin it out, not inky, you know, like ink, but anyway, this brush I've got here, I think it's at least 35, 40 years old. It's an old Grumbacher brush. I can't believe I still have it, but it makes, I can do my trees, the big trees with this. It's so much fun. I just love using this brush. Just put a tiny bit of thinner on that, um, Van Dyke Brown, and you'll see how it just flows right on, even right on top of that paint. Because if you have thick paint, it just won't stick. You know, it'll just glob around you. And thinning it out just a tiny bit makes it flow so nice. Trying to gauge how wide I want that tree. I want it fairly wide, and I want it to go all the way to the top. Hopefully, I can do it in one swipe. And then swipe down. See how easy that is? I love that brush. I'm sure there's other brushes out there, but I like the hog brush bristles. That works pretty good. I'm gonna take a few more swipes down. I just want it a little bit thicker, wider. And I'll have the bottom of that trunk come down at an angle a little bit. Smooth it out, straighten it out. Beautiful contrast there, isn't it? Just go slow, not a lot of pressure. All right. And you can mess with it. I'm kind of fussy. I like to go back and really make sure my edges are nice and crisp. I'm looking at a picture. I found it on, not sure where I found it. Pinterest or whatever that, uh, but yeah, I saw this picture. I really liked it. It's not going to be exact. All right, so I've got a smaller brush going into that same dark black with a little touch of brown in it. I'm going to make another tree. Actually, I'm going to make a few trees, but I'm right in the middle. It's a little flat brush. See, I'm on the bank, just right on the bank. I'm going to go all the way to the top with that one too. And there was another little tree in the middle there. That's just a small tree, and I did put some arms on it. You don't have to be too fussy with that one. A lot of that's going to be covered up with leaves. Now this one here, I'm going to put some arms on that one. Not real thick. Don't want big, huge arms on that, because this is going to be uh, pushed back a little bit. The big tree is closest, so I want to make sure that the depth and the distance is just right. And putting lots of little arms all around. Nice liner, and again, your paint has to be fairly thin to get that nice points, those nice points on the ends of those branches. Very light touches. Just kind of lift up as you finish out with the top of that twirl. I like to twirl a little bit. Lots and lots of little branches. Okay, working on the bank down there next to the water. You'll see in the front there, I did add, oh, it's a tree stump. Is what that is. And I'll be highlighting that in a little bit. But along the bank, I'm going to make that fairly dark. And then I'll add some color here. Again, taking the excess paint off. You can almost see on that paper towel how much is coming off. And it doesn't really affect the picture. It just helps putting your highlights on. All right, I'm going into the bright orange, a little touch of red, that cad red light, beautiful color, fall color. Just kind of squiggling, pushing in some background bushes, lifting up, putting some more color on the hill, making sure I leave some of those areas dark. You need to have the dark and the light. Now I've got Indian red, using that a lot, putting in bushes with that. It's another beautiful color. It's a little lighter than the red ochre, but I'm just tapping in. All right, going into a little bit of sap green. and a touch of yellow. So I'm going to start putting some leaves kind of alongside of the tree there. I'm just tapping in some green color for far away bushes. Just tapping in some foliage that's down there along the bank. It's kind of growing into the water. Kind of, I don't want to say swampy, but it's just the plants are growing in amongst along the bank, very close to the water. Okay, I've got some orange and a little bit of that Indian red. And I'm going to dot some more foliage, bushes down there, not all the way to the bottom. I want to leave that corner really dark. Fan brush, tapping. So put a little around the base of that tree, pushing up. Got another gnarly fan brush. I'm going to highlight that with the light area. Sunlight is coming right through there. And I want to have it a little brighter. Same on the left side of that tree. You can see I added some yellow and orange in there just to give it where the sunlight is hitting. Going into a light brown and white. Got a small brush. I'm going to tap in some darker areas in there. More of a shadow area. And then I'm going to add some highlights on top of that. Phthalo blue and white. I'm just going to scratch in a few, well, they're not really flowers, they're just some color in there. I'll mute a lot of that out when I use my shop towel. I don't want it real bright, but I do want some blue in there, in that shadow area. And then I'll take a dry one and just tap over the top of that just to blend it in. Back in the same color, I'm going to put some lighter water in there. Just a little bit, little blue down there in the stream. Very light touches. I smudge it with my finger. It works. Into the orange with got a little touch of yellow in there. I'm going to do the top of that cliff edge, I should say, going down. Just put some, probably looks like leaves. Just tapping a little orange and yellow in there. Going back into my sap green with a touch of yellow. Just going to go on the bottom of the base of that big old tree there. Tapping some grassies. Just here and there. Pushing up a little bit. And with the dark, I got a little dark paint on that small brush. I'm going to go underneath that, put a little dark in there. All right, we're going into the red ochre. I'm going to highlight the top of that stone. Put a little red in there. Maybe a mixture of light brown. Using palette knife. You could use a brush if you want, but I like to see the paint break, kind of like putting paint on the mountain. Put a little bit of that orange color. I'm going to top it off later with some yellow. Just a tiny bit. All right. A little bit of yellow ochre and tapping my 1 inch. I'm going to just make a few little flowers, just something down there, just to add some color. Okay, I'm in the very, very dark color, black and a little brown. I'm going to put another tree in there. I can't get it really straight up, so I'm going to have to angle it over just a little bit. But I won't go all the way to the top with that one. That one's going to go, looks like about 4 inch, 3.5 inches down from the top. That's all I'll go on that one. And then I'll end up putting some branches on that one too. Some gnarly little branches. I don't want it real thick. I don't want that trunk to be thick. That's a thinner one. And again, the paint on my liner brush is fairly thin. Not water-like, but just thin enough where you can get that nice point on the end of those branches. Going into the reddish brown color, the red ochre with a touch of orange, or you could put a touch of yellow with that too. Just creating, tapping in some what looks like leaves in there. Just tapping in, looks like small leaves. Okay, same color, a little more yellow mixed with it. I'll work my way down on the left side of that tree, keeping the angles right. And you can scratch down with your fan brush or lift up. Just experiment and, figure out what works for you. Same color, I just want to put a little color in there. Just tapping. A red ochre and brown mix. Oh, here we go. These are my little sea sponges. And I cut fairly, not big, maybe 1 inch across, little pieces that I'll use for making my leaves. Rather than a brush this time, I'm going to try it with these sponges. I've done it before and it turned out pretty good. And what I do is I take a sponge, I dip it in mineral spirits, make sure I squeeze it real good, and then I'll dot it on a blue shop towel. Then I'll go in to my paint, which is, fairly thin anyway. Just dot it in there, coat the ends really good. I'm going in, I made that reddish brown. I'm going to start dark and work my way up. Figure out where your branches are going to be. Just experiment. You can't make a mistake. No two leaves are the same anyway. You can hold it with your right hand or hold it with your left, whatever works for you. I'm just making some dark base color for leaves. And then I'll start adding some pretty colors right over the top of those. Going on the top edge of the canvas, there's going to be some leaves hanging down from there. So anywhere where you think going to have some leaves. I cut up maybe 3 or 4 of those pieces because each one has got a different pattern on it. I love working with those. Some areas are a little heavier. Now I'm going to go into the lighter red ochre and orange. I'm going to tap into kind of both. I'll see what I do here. But here I am putting some mineral spirits on. I want to make sure it's not soupy, but just, wet enough it'll stick to that sponge. And I'll start introducing this other rusty color right over the top of those leaves, leaving some open areas. See how pretty that looks? Now I'm going to go into a little red, go into the CAD red light, just tap away that center tree. It's going to have a cluster of orange in there. But you can make yours any way you want. I'm just looking at a picture. I am changing it some. I added, a little more color here or there. And I'm just tapping away at the top, excuse me, top of the canvas. It's going to be quite a few leaves hanging down from there. As long as I just work with one color, and then when I'm ready, I might add some dark, kind of intermingled, so they're shows some depth, and I think it's more realism. I don't know, but I do like the sponge technique. You can tap wherever you think there's going to be some leaves. I'm going to add accentuate on a lot of these limbs, arms, after I get the leaves down. You'll see I'll go back and I'll expose some of those limbs. Got one branch hanging down in the corner there. Just enough. You don't need a lot. Gonna go up there and finish out, do that red ochre. I love that color. Indian red is nice too. Indian red is a little lighter. I think I mentioned that earlier. Going into the dark reddish brown. I'm going to make sure there's some darker areas. Okay, back into the orange and red. Carefully shaping those branches. I've got a little liner brush. I'm going to go and find some of these branches, these arms. I'm going to go in and go right over the top of those, some of those leaves. Put an extra arm on that big guy there and that big tree coming out. Create a little fork like on the end. Making some, oh, fallen branches are kind of gnarly looking. Wiggle them in. Very light touches though. You don't need much pressure on that little liner brush. All these limbs just gives it character, it just makes it look more natural. You can't make a mistake. I'm gonna make a long one that comes way out almost to the edge. Got to be a little different here. I think that long one's actually part of the big tree. Got some long limbs hanging down. And putting a little branch in the top one there, just a little bit. All right, coming along. Oh, you can put as many branches as you like, but especially amongst cluster of leaves, you like to have them hook on to a branch or two. All right, gonna go into sap green and a little bit of yellow. I've got this really soft little flat brush. When you press down, it kind of spreads apart. Well, this little thing makes the cutest little, almost like ivy, like it's crawling up the tree, and that's what I'm trying to make it look like. Just tapping those little bristles kind of spread out, and it looks like a little ivy. Putting some greenery down along that big stump. Maybe too much. Take a blue shop towel, give it a tap or two. Now I'm going to attempt, I've got a small brush, attempt to make some leaves. And I end up using my 1 inch, but I thought maybe I could shape a leaf or two. But I got spoiled with my with my sponge. All right, so I'm in the liner. I want a light yellow. I'm gonna tip the tops of those uh, orange. They're not really flowers, they're leaves. They're kind of clustered together there. And there we go with my 1 inch in the orange. So I go over the top of that anyway. Oh yeah, that's what makes painting fun. You know, you can't make a mistake. You can just change your brush. Oh, there I am with a sponge. I'm gonna do some sponges along the bottom there. Make some leaves that are laying in there. And if I don't like it, then I'll try something else. I do want to put some of that beautiful color, that cad red light, so pretty. Topped off with a little bit of yellow. I have several sponges that I use. Otherwise, I'd have to clean each one, and that kind of a pain. So you want to cut at least 4 or 5 of them, so you don't have to change out the color. Yeah, put one real close to that stump. Okay, I've got a little gnarly sand brush that I'm scratching in. Oh, they're not grassies, but it's just some color in the bottom. So now I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and white on my fan brush. I'm going to just put some sunlight on the side of that big old tree. And I'll use my finger and I see a finished painting. I really enjoyed doing this one, and I hope you do too. So until next time, happy painting and God bless.